Hello and welcome to a video describing a brand new feature which we're testing in Say Intentions AI. Those of you who are following the progress of this app will know that we've had a very exciting announcement recently that we're in testing mode for PDC and CPDLC. It's a bunch of acronyms which I'll attempt to explain in just a moment. It's a big step forward for Say Intentions, and it's available right now in testing for those of our users who are able to connect to our ACAR system already. So what is it and how does it work? Well, this is a brief video not to explain how to fly a Fenix Airbus, but how to use our new feature in the Fenix A320, 19 and A321. So what is a PDC? Let's start with that one. Well, it's a digital communication sent to the flight crew, providing essential information before takeoff. Think of this as a digital craft clearance, which includes your routing, altitude, and other flight plan details that have been approved by ATC. It replaces traditional voice-based clearance procedures, allowing for more efficient and error-free communications. But why would you want to bother sending something digitally when you can just tune the radio in and talk? Well, in busy airspaces, traditional radio communication can get a bit crowded, and those of you who've been maybe on the ground at a busy airport like Heathrow or JFK will know that getting a word in edgeways to clearance or ground is sometimes quite difficult. Well, with PDC, we can make our request by text, if you like, almost like sending a WhatsApp message to the ATC and receiving their clearance back. It means you don't have to wait for that gap in the ATC communications where you quickly jump in hoping you don't step on anybody. So that's PDC, pre-departure clearance. CPDLC stands for Controller Pilot Data Link Communications. It's another digital messaging system, again a bit like sending a text or a WhatsApp. One of the benefits of CPDLC is it reduces the chance of errors by providing a clear and written record of instructions. Plus, of course, it frees up the radio channels for urgent communications. Here's how it works. When you want to send an instruction, you type it into your system, which is then transmitted to the CPDLC display. You send that to the ATC, they receive the message, review it, and send back an acknowledgement. It's simple, it's efficient, and it ensures both sides are on the same page. CPDLC is especially useful in busy places like Europe and the US, as well, of course, as in oceanic airspace where radio coverage is limited. In fact, over oceans, CPDLC is often now the primary way that pilots communicate with controllers, since, of course, VHF radio can't reach across the water. It's really a key part of the future of air traffic management, and we're delighted to be able to bring it into Say Intentions, albeit in a testing mode right now. So let's get on and describe how we use PDC and CPDLC. So here we are in the cockpit of the Fenix Airbus A320, and what we're looking at here, for those who are unfamiliar, are the two MCDUs, the MCDUs as they're called in the Airbus, and above those we have the DCDUs, the Data Link Control and Display Unit, which is used by the pilots to communicate with air traffic control by text messaging, which we're going to show today instead of using voice radio. If you can't see those DCDU screens, there should be one on the left and one on the right above both of the MCDUs. Then you need to go over to the EFB, the tablet on the Fenix, go to SIM settings, and you'll see here DCDU. Make sure that that is switched on, otherwise you won't see those display units. Let me turn that off and show you. If that is blanked out like that and we go back to have a look, you'll see here they have completely disappeared. Some liveries don't have them on by standard, so just bear that in mind. If they are blank and you don't see them, then just simply go over to the tablet and switch them back on again with this DCDU switch. So the first thing we need to do to get this all working is to make sure we've downloaded our SimBrief flight plan under My Flights on the EFB. We import it here, and there's our flight plan for today from Bristol to Glasgow. Our call sign is Midland 8 for Victor, and we'll be using that call sign all the way through the flight to show you how that interacts with PDC and CPDLC. So that's very important. Make sure you've imported your Simbri flight plan or you won't get very far. So back to the McDo's, you're faced with this menu where it says select desired system. I tend to use the right-hander McDo to handle the CPDLC stuff, just because I use the left-hand one for pilot programming, but that's entirely up to you. They both work equally as well. So the first thing you need to do is to select ATSU, ATSU here. That's selected, and eventually that will come up with two menus. So let's deal with this new acronym, ATSU. It stands for Air Traffic Service Unit, and in the Airbus it plays a crucial role in the communication and coordination between pilots and air traffic controllers. It's an essential component actually on the avionics system of the Airbus A320 aircraft. So that's got rid of that acronym. Back to the menu, we've got an ATC menu on the left and an AOC menu on the right. The first thing we're going to do is try and get our pre-departure clearance, our PDC. This is what we'd normally go to the clearance frequency for in, say, Intentions or any other air traffic controller in the real world, and basically ask for a clearance, something like Midland 84 Victor requesting IFR clearance to Glasgow. Then the air traffic controller would come back and give us our clearance. In the States, this is often known as a craft clearance, which stands for the clearance limit, the end point of the clearance. That's usually, but not always, the destination. Route, the route that the flight is to follow as part of that clearance. Altitude, the initial altitude given by ATC to be maintained by the aircraft, plus maybe a time at which you might get given your cruise altitude. Frequency is the F, that's normally the departure frequency, and T is the transponder code for your squawk code. So craft, C-A-R-F-T, and that's what we'd normally get from our clearance delivery frequency. But in this case, we're going to get that digitally from PDC. The first thing we need to do is to set the Airbus up initially for our flight. Now, this is not going to be a tutorial on the Airbus. There are many people that do that better than I, but let me tell you that this is what we, in this particular video, need to make sure we have covered before we can go any further. So this is the way I would approach it. I'd go to the ATSU menu, and then I'd go to the AOC menu, and then flight init. Once you've done that, you can request the data at the bottom right there. That then comes in, eventually, back from the Simbri flight plan and fills out those pages here. Over on this McDo, we can go to our FMGC menu, that's our main FMC menu if you like, and we can go to init, and again go for init request. That'll take a moment, and it will then load the flight plan into the secondary flight plan of the Fenix. That's a little gotcha for people who are maybe not used to that. You go to the secondary flight plan, you insert that, wait for it to happen, then activate the secondary flight plan, which now becomes the primary flight plan. So back to the init page, and here's a very important gotcha. You'll notice here it's put our route in beautifully from Bristol to Glasgow. It's done our alternate here. What it hasn't done is the flight number. That's very important to fill in going forward for our PDC and CPDLC. So our number for this flight is BMA 84 Victor, and we'll fill that in there. Nothing else is important at this point. The rest of it you can watch other videos to learn how to program this properly. But those are the things that we need. We need the call sign there. We need the route to be correct before we can progress. So, back to this one. We press the McDo menu. We go to ATSU. And we go to the AOC menu for a PDC. We go to the AOC menu first and select ATC request, because we are requesting from ATC a pre-departure clearance. And there it is, the pre-departure clearance, which you will select here. We see that we have the route at the top and we have the call sign. Very important, they are filled in as I've just mentioned. Gate number, we're at gate 1 in Bristol. Our ATIS ID we will have received already from Say Intentions by tuning in Bristol ATIS, which in our case here is Information Zulu. So let's add that to the ATIS ID. And the only other thing left to fill in, the aircraft type is done for us, is the station. And for a pre-departure clearance, the station ID will be the airport that you're departing from. So Echo, Golf, Golf, Delta. Once that is done, we put that in the station, and you'll notice now that the send lights up with an asterisk, which means we can press it. So this is us now sending our departure request from Bristol to Glasgow with call sign BMA84 Victor Information Zulu on gate number 1, Airbus A320, and we're sending that to Bristol for our clearance. It will disappear, don't worry, and now you need to wait. One thing that PDC and CPDLC is not, is fast. It's not the quickest system in the world, but a very important one nonetheless. So don't be impatient. Don't think that it's broken. Just wait for the report to come back. That could take 1 to 2 minutes. You can be getting on with other stuff because the Airbus will alert you when that comes back with a little alarm sound. You will be alerted audibly and you will be alerted visually. As you see now in the Airbus, we're hearing a little alarm sound and the ATC message is flashing at the top left here. That's to alert you to the fact that you've received a message from ATC, and it now appears on this screen here. Cleared to Glasgow, Brecon 1 X-ray, maintained 4,000 feet, departure on 125855, squawk 1232, and expecting runway 27. Then we have some options. We have unable, standby, or Wilco. If we're happy with that, we press Wilco and then send that Wilco by pressing again. That now turns green and it says received by ATC. So you have accepted that clearance. You now close that menu. That's job done. We have received our departure clearance. We've been given a squawk, and all of that is now understood by Say Intentions, which will start your IFR flight as if you had made the request by doing it verbally. Now I've blanked the screen there, but you can always recall the last thing by pressing this little button here, recall, and back will come our clearance. And if we take a look here, squawk 1232 and departure on 125.855, and just to show you in Say Intentions itself, you can see now that's mirrored in the Say Intentions display as if you'd made the request by voice. Our clearance has now turned to an IFR one, and we have the correct squawk code there, which we need to enter into our transponder. And that is a PDC, a pre-departure clearance. I hope that made some kind of sense for you. That's the easiest part of this. And once you can master those, that means that if you're at those busy gates and can't get a word in edgeways, then you can always use PDC to get your pre-departure clearance. So now let's move on to CPDLC, which you remember stands for Controller Pilot Data Link Communication. This enables pilots and air traffic controllers to do almost a WhatsApp or a text chat between each other to save clogging up the frequency. It's not a quick system, so if you require something fast, CPDLC wouldn't be what you would use. You'd go for voice on that, but if you have a bit of time to spare, then CPDLC is absolutely perfect for your requirements. And we are implementing this now in various aircraft as the manufacturers get on board with our Say Intentions implementation of it. So let's have a look at what CPDLC is all about. First thing to say is that we're in the air now. We're at flight level 160 on our cruise towards Glasgow. That's quite an important fact because CPDLC is not generally used at all except in the air. In fact, I think it's actually not even allowed in certain places. For example, in the UK, it would be used typically above flight level 195. Now, as far as we go at the moment in SI, in Say Intentions, we're not enforcing that. However, we may well do in the near future, so it's a good practice to not attempt to use CPDLC unless you're airborne and at a decent cruising level. There are very complex rules depending on where you are in the world as to what level that may be, and we'll address that in the coming weeks. But for the moment, use CPDLC when you're airborne and at cruise level. So here we are then at flight level 160 for the moment, and we're going to go to our CPDLC via the McDo's. So many acronyms, so little time. So there's our route on the left, and this is the one we are interested in here. We've pressed the McDo menu button. That's the important one there. Whatever page this is on, as long as you press the McDo menu button, you'll get back to this choice, select desired system. In this case, we're going for the ATSU again. That's selected, and now we have the choice again of AOC menu or ATC menu. AOC menu is where we were before for our pre-departure clearance. AOC, by the way, standing for Airline Operational Control, which encompasses the systems and the processes used to manage airline operations within the Airbus. So earlier on we were getting a clearance from the AOC menu. Now we want to talk to ATC, but we want to do it via text. So we go for the ATC menu. And we're met with quite a few new menus. The one we're interested here is in a connection. So imagine you are doing a WhatsApp chat with somebody. To continue that analogy, you would have to first of all decide who it was you were going to send a WhatsApp to. Well, that's the point of the connection button. So press connection and notification. Who are we going to notify that we want to talk to them? And there we go. We have our flight number here, we have our route here, and it's asking us what ATC center we want to talk to. So that's the destination for our messages. Again, this is quite a complex thing. There are lots of these around the world. We're not implementing them in this testing stage strictly in Say Intentions at the moment. So use one for the country that you're in. And for the UK, for example, that happens to be Echo Golf Tango Tango. So we put that in the ATC center, telling them that's who we want to communicate with, that particular ATC center. You'll notice notify has now changed to an asterisk. We can now press that asterisk and we will notify that ATC center that we want to talk to them. EGTT notifying, look up here. It says next ATC EGTT. EGTT have been told now that we want to talk to them, and we now wait for their response. So this menu up here, the DCDU, is where we will get our response from EGTT to say, okay, you want to talk to me? That's fine, go ahead. Again, don't expect this to happen instantaneously. CPDLC is not a quick protocol in terms of getting immediate responses from air traffic control, but it will happen. And there we go, we have our ATC message flashing again on the top left of the cockpit, alongside that audio message you can hear there, almost like a telephone ring. That's to alert you have a message. We can blank that out now and go back to our display. Now if you look now on the DCDU, this display here, it says the reply to our request at 11:46 is that our logon has been accepted, which is perfect. That means that we are now logged on to EGTT and we can talk to them. We can close that menu up there, and now it's changed to active ATC EGTT as opposed to next ATC. You'll see that's in green now. That shows we are now communicating with EGTT center. So now what? Well, we've decided who we're going to talk to via our text or WhatsApp message in effect. We now have to tell them what it is that we want to say. So we go back down here to our ATC menu button, go back one step. You'll now see at the top of the page there is a request button. That's the critical one. Press that and all of this stuff comes up. So what can we request? What can we say? Well, we can't say just anything to ATC. It's mainly set up to get either a direct to a waypoint, a change in flight level or altitude, or a change in speed or Mach number. And why would we want to do that? Well, maybe because of weather, or maybe due to aircraft performance. We want to change our flight level, for example, to climb to a higher flight level to get better performance. Those are the options on the request page, and all we need to do is to tell them what it is that we want. So let's make a request. Let's ask for direct to Ribble, Romeo India Bravo Echo Lima. All we do is type Ribble into the direct to box at the top here. Then we don't need to give a reason if we don't want to. We don't want to do it particularly for aircraft performance or weather. We just want a direct to Ribble. So transfer to DCDU, that puts it up here. And you'll see now it's in blue with a send and a little asterisk. That means it needs to be sent. Let's send it. It now turns green. That means it's gone to ATC. Now it says received by ATC. We can now close that box off, and we are now ready to wait for our request to go direct to Ribble. And again, don't expect this to happen quickly. It takes a while using CPDLC. This is not something you do if you need the answer in a hurry. You would use voice for that. And hopefully, in just a moment, we'll be given our direct to Ribble by ATC. And there we are. There is an ATC message coming in. We see it flashing there in blue. We'll hear the warning. That little telephone ringing sound. You see the flash before you hear the alert. There's the alert. We can cancel that, go back to our display, and there you go. Up on our DCDU, cleared direct to Ribble in reply to our request that we made a moment ago. And again, we have options: unable, standby, or Wilco. The asterisk means that you have an option to press that and send that particular message. So we want to send the message Wilco, and then wait, and it says again send. So now send that. When it turns green, we have sent it, it's been received by ATC, and we can now go direct to Ribble. And that is the basis of CPDLC. Again, to get to it, just to show you, wherever you are in the menu, go to MCDU menu, go to ATSU. For a CPDLC request, you go to the ATC menu. Once you've logged on, we already have, with the connection here, you can go to request. Let's, for example, ask for a new flight level. Let's request a climb to flight level 200, for example. So in there we would put 200, and we'd say maybe due to aircraft performance. Let's transfer that to the DCU. It goes up here. In blue, we need to send it. Now in green, it's received by ATC. We can close that and wait for the reply from air traffic control, with hopefully a climb to flight level 200. And there is our reply to the request to climb to flight level 200. So we Wilco that, and we send it, and we can now make our climb to flight level 200. And that is it for what you can do. So we've done a direct to, we've done flight level. We can do a speed change as well, but that's the same process basically. You would just type in, for example, decimal 80, put that in there, and then transfer that to the DCDU as we've just done. So that's the basis of CPDLC. As I've said before, it's in testing at the moment. You can have a play with it if you have already got your aircraft to talk to our ACARs, depending on what aircraft you're using. Not all aircraft, of course, have CPDLC built in. The Fenix does, the PMDG 777 and a few others, but we're waiting for talks with those manufacturers to integrate them directly without any fiddling about from the end user. But if you've managed to connect to our ACAR system already, then you can have a play with it and see how you get on. But bear in mind, it's still in early testing at the moment. So I hope that makes some kind of sense. We will be available as always on Discord to answer any questions you might have. But hopefully this video has been of some help, a basic guide to PDC and CPDLC using the Fenix and Say Intentions. Thank you for watching, and we will speak again soon.